This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Find great deals faster.
Hello, and welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. This podcast is designed by real people on their journey to achieving financial freedom, and we'll focus on people who've either already attained it, who are joining us on that journey, or maybe a specialist topic that can help you build your technical knowledge to achieving and maintaining that financial freedom. We hope you enjoy it. Welcome back to the Financial Freedom Podcast. Today is one of our technical topics where we're going to talk about something that hopefully will help you on your journey to obtaining financial freedom. Today's topic is one that really means something to us. It can be a little bit controversial. You'd probably say it's the Marmite area of the property world, and we're going to be talking about all things property training. So with me as always for our technical topics, my good friend and business partner, Tim. Hi, Tim.
Hello, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, of course.
For this discussion.
Yeah, so property training. So we see it all the time. So property training, and I'm not talking about formal qualifications here. So we're not talking about becoming a building surveyor or becoming an architect or anything like that. I'm talking about learning how to become a property person as an investor or as a developer, as a landlord.
Yeah, so it's self-education.
Self-education,
yeah.
Personal development.
Personal development, yeah.
So, and this is a sensitive topic in the market in general, because there's lots of different providers for this, for this type of thing. And you don't have to go too far within sort of the property environment for people to, like to talk about it. Yeah. So whether or not it's a good experience or a bad experience, or whether or not it's somebody who has an opinion, it's certainly divided as to whether or not.
Yeah, I think if you go to social media circles and things like that, there's some people who are just really against it. It's like, why would you pay any money for that? You can get it all for free. Yeah. And then on the flip side, you got other people who are just going to every single sort of property training event under the sun, jumping around, and they're massively for it, but not necessarily actually doing that much implementation. So you get the real extremes in the property world, I think.
Yeah, and it's certainly acknowledging the fact that it is the diverse nature. The disclaimer is we are advocates.
Yeah.
Right. So this might be a little bit of a bias. We probably should have somebody who isn't an advocate.
I think what we should say
to balance the bias. But
I'm definitely an advocate of self-development, self-education.
Yes.
As long as you get value out of it and you do it the right way that works for you. I could easily go to some sort of property training event that someone's been to and gone like, oh, this hasn't helped me at all. It's not the right thing for me, and it's bullshit, whatever. So, as long as it's self-education that we're advocates for, or I'm personally advocating for as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And learning but from those that have trodden the path before.
Yeah.
It's certainly a good idea in any environment, right? Where you're trying to reduce risk and mistakes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, especially the thing that you think is a blocker for you or stopping you push forward. If you just find someone that's done that really well in a program or a mentorship, can really, really push you forward, can't it?
Well, I guess that brings us to the first topic we're going to talk about, which is the motivation surrounding people that sign up for property training and our experience of that. So why did you, Tim Witt, with 18 years of property development experience at the time, or 16 at the time, decide to sign up with a property training specialist? That seems like an oxymoron to me.
Yeah, so if I could just explain what I've done for property training as such. Yep. So there's two key ones I've done in the property investor network space, which is obviously apart from going to your standard network local event, I then went to what's called the Mastermind Accelerator Program, which is basically the big 3-day training event with PIN. So I did that. And that's a precursor for a 12-month mastermind program. I did the 12-month mastermind program with Simon Zucci and Andy Haynes, which we met in end of 2020 through to 2021. And then following that, I did a course which is called Property Entrepreneur, which is started by a guy called Dan Hill. And that is kind of a property, but more of a business lifestyle type program. So they're the self-development things I've invested money in and done, basically. I would say the reason why I decided to do the Mastermind Accelerator and the PIN Mastermind program was because I was investing in property and I was using my expertise at the time, which was project management, refurbishment, conversion. But I had a real blocker in some spaces to move forward and properly build a portfolio. And I believe that, the things that I challenged with, which I could use an example, like say raising funds. Yep. As an example, I read Property Magic, and Simon Zucci was big on, using other people's money. You don't have to just use your own money. You can use other people's money as long as it's a win-win and they get a return, and you can do it that way. So I thought, oh, he's a good person for this. So I looked more into him as an individual, and also, people that did the mastermind program. I looked at people, what results that they had achieved. And I also talked to some people when I went to the local events that had done mastermind and what they'd achieved and other people achieved. And I thought, yeah, this is really something that could help push me forward in my blockers and challenges I've got. And I also knew the power of people, like in my professional career, like everything that had been done well was through the building a great team and working with people well and stuff like that. So I knew the power of that. So I'm like, if I can combine my issue and blocker with a bit of knowledge and confidence to do that, and also build a network that, not knowing exactly what would happen on our network, but the network could help me team up with other people. The combination of those things is really why I decided to do it. And also it happened during the pandemic, and I had a bit of time to think about it and go, oh shit, like we're locked down, what can I do? Yeah, these are what I want to do. What's my blockers? And going, actually, I've got the time now to do it. And get stuck into it.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because you're like somebody who would look at your CV and go, well, this person probably doesn't need to do a property training program, right? So you're 16 years at the time, now up to 20 years of experience in property as a whole, but not necessarily. And that's the key thing is that you weren't the only just property person on there.
Yeah.
There's people who are working for consulting engineers. There's people who are working for.
But also if you took on the flip side, like there's probably not much point me doing like a property development training program.
Yeah.
Because I think even like at one point when we started talk to each other, you did property CEO like a 3-day thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, Tim, you should do this. And I looked at it and I'm like, I'm not going to let anything. I'll learn like a little bit from it as far as the way they put it together. But the value of me doing that compared to say that mastermind for me was completely different. Because that was the general knowledge I already had.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So should I flip it back to you and say, why did you decide, to do the property training you've done, and what have you done specifically?
Yeah, so obviously I was in a bit of flux, right? So I'd been not in the property space. So but I'd read Simon Zucci, who's the Pin hosts book Property Magic, and being a big action taker, I'd read it about 5 years previous. But I'd been in a sales job for a long time, 18 years at the time, and it was 10-hour days. 5 days a week, but you took it home as well, because I'd done that climb the ladder thing, right? So I'd climbed the ladder, and I was group director and then MD and that kind of stuff. And quite, being honest, it's not any more fun the next level you go up. If anything, it's harder. So, and then you become almost this, once you get to a certain level, there's nobody beyond to help you. And I was stressed and I was tired, and, I was just doing things that I didn't want to have to do. And I just thought, now's the time for me to do something about this, because a property journey, or what I didn't want to do is to try and turn off one tap, try and turn off another tap, and then just make all classic mistakes. I bought a buy-to-let, and I felt that had been an error. And I just thought, I read that book, I need to do something about it. Here is a person that I already know, like, and trust because of the book, because of the YouTube things that I'd watched and stuff like that. And the Pin events that I did.
Yeah, and then he's got that big network of those events.
And I was really hard pressed to find a bad word at the time. I was really struggling to find anybody who'd been through that training program who said, actually, it wasn't beneficial to me. There were some people who hadn't taken lots of action, who I found, which is different. But even they said,
it's still worthwhile me doing it.
Worthwhile me doing it. And then actually, one person said something which was really prevalent, which was, I did the course. I realized by the end of the course that I didn't want to do property. I was like, wow. I said, well, surely that was a waste of money. I said, no, because I could have spent all that money on property and then realized I don't want to do property, which is much worse than
a waste of more time as well.
It says, now I know all the strategies around property, and I've realized it's not for me. I'm going to do other things, and I've still got a great network of people, and I've met some good people. I'm looking forward to seeing their journeys. And I just thought, wow, that's really powerful, because ultimately, you don't know, do you, when you're heading out into something. Yeah. So for me, it was about knowing that, if I drive something, it's going to work, because that's how it's always worked for me. Yeah. But accelerating that knowledge, because I remember when I was a recruiter, the first 5 years, it was slow. And then when I got to a certain level, it then started to accelerate, because everything was clicking. I used to think I knew it all in the first 2 years, and I didn't. Yeah. But I'd been self-reflective about that. So it's about accelerating that part as well, and getting to that knowledge base of being an expert within that timeline by learning from experts. That's
Yeah.
why that was my motivation.
Yeah, and that's also the thing when you go into these programs is like everyone compares themselves with others, but like everyone's at a different stage when they get in there.
Yeah,
like you said, I had loads of experience in a certain aspect of property, but had some big blockers in other areas. So once I had that little bit of unblocking happening, suddenly the floodgates could open and I could move on quite quickly. Whereas some others are still taking a bit of time to get moving after it.
Just being totally open as well. When I started, I didn't realize the breadth of different training organizations.
Yeah, true.
I only knew about that one, right? Because I'd read the book and I've been to the networking and that kind of stuff. I didn't know there was loads of them.
Yeah, so I sort of knew about like Progressive Property because I've heard some stuff from them and like Rob Moore and people like that. And I'd heard of like Samuel Lees and Aaron Curry, so I heard of a few, but there's still loads. I probably don't even know like a lot of it now. There's loads on
Touchdown and stuff like that. So I guess that brings us to the next question, which is fast forward to today in the networks that we now operate in are much more advanced, right? How, going back, if you were looking at this and thinking, oh, well, I'm about to choose a property trainer, how do you think you would choose a good one? How would you think, actually, this is the right thing for me?
So I suppose on that question, track record's got to be relatively important. Because if someone's been, and I know in the training space, people go in and out of the market regularly. So if there are some training organizations that have hung around for a while, that's got a certain amount of track record in place, doesn't it? So that's probably one to look at.
Yeah.
I always just think like it's the references from the people that have done it. So you can, by going to PIN meetings, you will meet mastermind people that have done it because the hosts basically have to have done it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're slightly biased because they've done well about whatever, but you will meet other people that have done it as well in those meets, and you can find them, fairly easily on social media if you want. So you get general references there. So if you build up a bit of a reference base and talk to them, and like I just know when I was looking at it, it's like whether people had done that well or not, most people had said it was life changing.
Yeah,
I do want to change my life, so that makes sense.
I hear that all the time.
Yeah,
So and one of the things I pick up on as well is I see it on media a lot, which is there's a big difference between a property training organization and a mentor. Now, and I see this being pushed quite often by the mentors, which is, I've just saved somebody, X amount of thousands of pounds or whatever by not signing up to this, by signing up to my mentorship, and they'll get a lot more out of me on a one-to-one basis than we'll out of that. And I think to myself, well, like there's two ways to sell your business. One is to sell what you do, and the other one is to try and trash the other things in the market. And I always think to myself, I don't understand the value of downplaying one for another, if that makes sense. Because if you are the kind of person who needs that one-to-one direct, contact, you do get coaching through the other stuff. But if you just want a mentor, then that is different.
Also, it's very hard to get a one-to-one direct mentor because like someone that could help you with that is going to be very busy. So someone that's done what you want to do, to get a one-on-one membership with them is unlikely.
Unless they are no longer doing it.
Yeah,
they just do that now.
Yeah, unless they've stopped doing it and that's physically their offering.
Yeah.
Because we know about it a bit because obviously we're busy with our businesses and everything we do. And when people ask for one-to-one mentoring, it's you want to do it, you want to help, but it's very difficult to dedicate the time that's required to give to help people and give them results as well. So yeah, like you said, those programs, you're in a group, so it's divided up. But like you say, there are direct coaches that you get times with and things like that as well.
And I generally think that there's merits to both.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because on the mentorship side, you've got more personal access, and they're there to help. They're probably going to give you straighter answers than a coach would, because the coach is more about helping you to become the best version of you in that environment, whereas a mentor might say, right,
I think
the decisions are X, Y, and Z.
A mentor is more giving you direct advice, whereas a coach is more just like supporting you in a way and get you, helping you get to your decision rather than saying, no, I think you should do X.
A big thing for me as well is before you press go, don't get sold on the hype. Understand the full training environment. So what is it you're going to have? What is it you're not going to have? Right. So, and the reason I say this is even within the training environment that we were, there was another course that was being sold. And ironically, it was a podcast course. Right. I'm not going to mention who. I know you know who it will be with, but we won't mention who. And it was a podcast course that was talked about in our environment, so within our network, and was represented by this other podcast leading to it. And I signed up for it because I thought I do want to
Yeah.
Ironically, it might say,
You wanted
well,
to
it
build
was good value, right? But when I signed up for the program, I realized straight away this was the wrong thing to do because it was all an online-based, self-taught thing, blueprint that I bought. And that's not how it came across in the initial sales calls, but I didn't look under the hood, which is my fault. And with property training organizations, there are lots of these ones as well.
Yeah.
But it might say things like, oh, you get coaching, but that coaching might be 15 minutes every 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
Everything else is you have to follow the blueprint. And if you're buying a blueprint type program, then you need to be somebody who can be self-sufficient. Especially if you are where we were, which is probably, we didn't just need support in the property space, we needed network and we needed
mindset shifts.
Which is not what that would in my opinion would
So if you've done something like that and you've got those mindset shifts and the network and stuff, and then it's like, oh, okay, physically I'm going to do this, I need to get a bigger knowledge base on that. That's when maybe you look at the blueprint scenario you're looking at. So
it's just understanding that that's a different thing. You're not necessarily buying the same thing as somebody else.
It's funny that you say about don't get fallen for the hype, because actually I can't, like, partly I did. Obviously I did the things I talked about. But in 2020 with the pandemic, Simon Zucci's quite vocal. Oh, the market's going to crash. Everything's locked down, all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, he's like, now's the time. There's going to be deals everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, he's right. I need to join up and get these deals done. I need to move on.
Yeah.
And actually, the market did the exact opposite.
It went up. Yeah.
The government, there's all the money that got pumped into the government, the loans and everything like that. And the property sector did the exact opposite. It skyrocketed, but it didn't matter because of that. In essence, like, that was part of the reason I signed up, because that hype, but it got me going.
Yeah, but
I'm fine with it, because at least I got into it, and actually I learned how to do deals in a hard market to find deals, which is actually almost more beneficial than finding it in an easy market where prices are
and
it's weird.
These organizations also have to have a sales funnel. Otherwise they wouldn't survive. So they have to go with the market trends, and I would have agreed with him at the time. But
But also, if the government didn't do those things, that's what would have happened very quickly. So, it was government intervention that changed that.
Yeah, which is ironic, because then, fast forward a couple of years later, when the money runs out from the government, that's when the deals started to become easier.
Exactly, yeah.
So it did.
But because we did that 2 years ago, we were ready to move at that point.
Yeah. Cool. So, and how to spot a bad one is really, it's difficult, isn't it? It's very hard to spot a bad one. But if you've done all of your due diligence, you understand the course content, and you've got references from people who've been in the program as a delegate, not coaches, not the individual themselves, as a delegate.
And try to get a bit of a mix as best you can, because like I said before, pin hosts generally will say good stuff because they're hosts. It worked really well for them. But, in that room, there's some that didn't find it, didn't do as well out of it or whatever. Try to seek those people out and get the honest feedback from them. And like I found, it was generally like, I didn't do that well out of it, but it was still life-changing for me.
Yeah, and a lot of it becomes about initially in the first part is about the mindset and the network, and you just being in a room with people who are dedicated at that point to doing that. Which kind of brings me into the next point, which is how important is the networking part of a property training course?
Yeah, so my perspective on this is because if you think of those two main ones I mentioned, which was Mastermind, Accelerator, and PIN, and then the 12-month Mastermind, the content you get taught in the 3 days is in the 12-month program. So you basically don't learn any new content. You go back over it and
more detail,
bit more detail and stuff, but the content's there. But when I did Mastermind Accelerator, it was virtual because we're in lockdown. It wasn't even, you couldn't even do it live at the time. So what I really felt I missed was like that physical networking or meeting people. And then I held off signing up for the 12 months because I'm like, oh, it's cool. If I sign up for the 12 months in November, I think 2020, all the lockdowns will be done by then. And
same.
We'll all be face to face or whatever. And unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Actually, Manchester being the longest served lockdown.
We would, yeah, exactly. Even when it went face to face, we were what was tier 4.
Yeah.
So we had to dial in, and all these people from like
can't keep their hands
all the Southerners were like in the room, getting along. So anyway, but it's that face to face network interaction, getting to know people. And the other thing, we were forced to do our wealth dynamics profiling, seeing what our strengths and weaknesses were, and understanding how different people interact and work, and all those sort of things.
And also, it's the journey that people were on, and the other things that people do is driving motivator, because you can see people doing it. I think that's really important. And one of the things that I'm slightly of a warning about is if you're only going for the technical content, then you could just probably listen to all the episodes of this podcast and just learn just as much. You probably could, or you could go into the YouTubes of these training providers and learn as much. They pretty much give away the technical content is there for free almost. Like, you don't necessarily need just technical content, in my opinion, but the application of that content
Yes,
in real life
if you took
environments.
purely knowledge, so if you read Simon Zucci's book, then you listen to his podcast, you listen to our podcast, like, you pretty much got the knowledge of everything.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you took Simon's podcast and our podcast just on their own, that's it. You don't need to.
Yeah, and that's all free and it's out there. So what that does mean is, like, this is like, that content is excellent, hopefully, and everyone gets a lot out of it. But the knowledge is important. But if you don't combine that knowledge with other things like the networking that goes with it and everything else,
taking the action, the practical application.
There's also some really good inspiring speakers that come on.
Yes.
So you're networking with people in your group, but also you're getting inspired. Whereas when you're getting content, partly you're getting inspired by experiencing stuff, but some of these people really inspire you to make it.
And it's hard doing it solo on your own. You sat in your office at home or whatever, looking at content and making an application. You can't ask questions. There's no practical examples. You don't have that ability to actually get your fears responded to. You don't have a coach who's helping you prod you along. Those things are missing. But I would never, like, and this is the thing about the online blueprint one. So I'm like, if it's just a blueprint, you don't need it.
It's a good point, actually, because and I won't name names for our mastermind, but can you remember one of the sessions? Like, one of the guys had an absolute cracker of a deal, and he wasn't even confident about getting it secured, and literally, like, presented the deal in the group, and, like, Simon's like, could you just go walk out and go secure this deal right now? It's that good. But, like, him on his own couldn't see. Even though he's got the spreadsheet in front of him that says how good it is.
Yeah, literally, stop talking.
Yeah.
Go out there, ring the agent, do the deal.
Yeah.
But
by coming in the room, presenting it, and getting the confidence from him and the rest of the group, like, he just secured it, and it was like an unbelievable deal, wasn't it? It's just so weird that he's got the knowledge and he knows what it is. He's got the spreadsheet, but he still needed the reinforcement for everyone else.
Because I didn't necessarily sign up for that just because of technical content. I could have found my way, I'd have blundered my way through it, but it is about that being around those people. Yeah. And it is about the people as well, as important it is for technical content for me personally. Stop the podcast now. This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Property Filter is the #1 property tool for today's property professional. It brings in all the data points and sources from all the property portals and auction sites into one convenient place. Then you have the option to overlay all the clever strategies found in the Property Filter blueprint to find motivated sellers faster. Now, we use it on a daily basis. It saves us over 80% of our time when looking for properties. And if that sounds like something that you want in your lives, please go to register.property-filter.co.uk/PPB, which is the discount code for this podcast. You will get 2 weeks free and a discount on your first month. That's it from me. Back to the podcast. So you're going to go spend money on property training. It's not necessarily a cheap thing to do, right? Especially if you go for a big, long year-based mastermind like we do. So how do you calculate your return on investment?
You look at where you are before the course, and then you look at where you end up after the course, I suppose, and how much different it's provided to you. So, I mean, if you took me as a simple example, before I joined the mastermind program, I had raised 0 investor finance or joint venture finance. I had, I think, 3 or 4 buy-to-lets, basic buy, refurbish, refinance ones, and I ran out of money, and that was it. Yeah. And then I literally stopped at a blocker. And then by doing that program, in that year, I did, say, 10 deals, quite a few joint venture partners, you included, and some others, raised loads of finance, did lots of deals, got to a position that I got to a goal, which would have been unattainable, I think, if I hadn't joined that.
Yeah.
So,
but it's the action part of that you took to generate that.
Well, it's the action to join it, and then it's when you're doing it, and then you've suddenly got this extra boost, or your block is gone, then you seriously take action. And I took too much that I almost had burnout, but
you were tired by then.
That's a different. That's a different.
Yeah, but it did change your life.
Absolutely,
in that way. And the thing about it is, it's how do you manage the return on investment? Well, for me, the second you go past the initial investment on revenue generated from what you do, then your investment's been returned to you, and anything past that point is then an infinite return on that original investment, right? Because ultimately you've made the money back. And the warning on it is, if you are not an action taker and you're signing up to a training program, the training program itself is not going to make you take action
And it's not going to do it for you.
It will not do it for you. It's not going to hold your hand. It will, well, it actually does hold your hand a little bit, but it's not going to make the calls for you. It's not going to give you the deals. It's not going to, so if those things are things that you just think, I'm just not going to do those things anyway, then I'd be like, well, don't do the training program. But if you are the kind of person who will get out there, who likes meeting people, who gets in the mix, just missing something. So maybe, you're a bit fearful of deals because of your spreadsheets, like you've got that steel mentality of like everything, every I and T needs to be dotted, like similar to perhaps you have, or maybe you're a creator like I am and you're just worried about the other part of it, the actual I's and T's.
Yeah.
But you think you can get out there and make it happen, and you're willing to actually not just sign up but participate and take action, then it's 100% something I would say is what you should be doing. You should be definitely.
Yeah, and I think the key is what you're saying there is doing all of those things, isn't it?
Yes, it's all of those things.
You can't just learn something and not implement it. You can't just learn stuff but not network.
Yeah, do you remember there was somebody on our course turned up for the last or second to last meeting, signed up for the year. Do you remember this person?
No.
Actually, from like an African heritage, like she had a business in Africa.
Yeah.
And she came to the second to last and then the end meal.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, we didn't even know that person was on the course.
Yeah, and it took her a while to get to the point that she'd come. Is that right?
Yeah. Like she hadn't come to any of the, like, and I was like, wow, this is, so that's the bit. It's like, you've got to turn up. You've got to show up. You've got to show up and you've got to do it.
I mean, sometimes it's like, and I can't remember what it was, but I think definitely for Mastermind Accelerator, I don't know whether you could leave at any point and get refunded if you're getting value or something like that.
Yeah,
halfway, yeah. So, and like you've got that option. So if you go through half of it, and I don't know what it is for Mastermind, so I can't go into
like the first session or something like that.
Yeah,
if you do the first session, you think it's not for you,
then you just go, don't you? Yeah. So when people are giving you those sort of guarantees, it's like obviously they're pretty confident, I suppose, as well that you're going to get something out of it.
Yeah, and the common pitfall is that somebody signs up and thinks that the course itself is going to change their life, and it is, but only if you're the action behind it.
Also, I would say that's similar with people, they seek out a mentor and they're like, they're literally just going to tell me what to do.
That's a frustrating thing about mentoring. When you go to session in month 1 and you say, these are the actions you need to take. And then in month 2, when you recalibrate, you might touch base in the middle and give them
very simple things. Like, I think you should go to this networking event.
They haven't done it.
Do this, and they haven't done it.
And you're talking about the same thing as the month before. And I think, well, that's, not only am I not giving you the value for you, but it's not the right thing for you.
Yeah.
Very quickly that stops.
Yeah.
So you're in it for a year. You can't get, like, the adage is you can have anything you want, but you can't have everything that you want. And it's the same with this type of property training. So what are the key elements in your mind that are missing from a level 1? So
in the program that we did, you mean?
Yeah. So if you just come in this traditional first year property training program in the self-development space, because they're all a lot of them are similar.
So generally they're going to help you with mindset. They're going to help you with networking. They will inspire you. I think, like, if I took the perspective of, say, the PIN mastermind, there's a big emphasis on finding motivated sellers, raising finance, things like that, teaming up with people. What it does not have is a good chunk of the knowledge that I had, luckily, which is like the practical, development, educational, so like property development and the background to that.
And if that's your strategy,
and the practical aspect of it as well.
And if that's going to be a strategy to add value through development, because it's not the only thing, right? Then it is missing.
And to be honest, it's very difficult to go that far, I think, in property without having to either do developments or refurbishments. You have to do amazing deals and have very creative ways of doing it. It can be done, and people do it. So don't get me wrong, but
you can also hire an expert.
Yeah.
Right. To help you with that part.
Yeah.
You don't have to be all things to all people, right?
Very true. Yeah. So you're either hiring the experts that can do that element that you're not educated in or don't have the experience in, or joint venture with, or you develop the education if you want to be hands-on in it.
And ultimately, if you find a great deal and you can finance that deal and you can afford to pay an expert, and generally speaking, that course is delivered for you what they're saying they're delivering, right? But if you want to become this, not everybody wants to do what we do, right? Which is lunacy, which is just do deals and deals and deals and deals and deals, right? So, but everyone, because we love that part of the struggle, right? But if you just want to be the investor, then again, it can teach you really well how to just remain as the investor, and have that investor mindset, not not the doer mindset, which is, something that, you can think about as if you just focused on great deals as an example, then that's the first skill in any box, finding great deals. And what does a great deal look like? So, it depends what you want to get out of that training. If you want to finish a 1 year with everything, including I want the whole blueprint about how to develop a project, then I feel you're going to be sorely let down.
Yeah.
It's about managing your own expectations.
And there's so much involvement with that works that how can you physically teach that and all those other elements?
Well, chances are your project's going to take longer than a year anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Chances are that it will.
Yeah.
So how do you then learn in the year when your project's going to take over the time of the training program? And that's the thing. If you're going to do development work, especially if you're doing a bigger deal, it's going to take 18 months.
It'll take a bit of time. Yeah.
So how would you say you could go onto one of these programs and then use additional resources? Obviously, this podcast is a great example of something that you could learn from. And obviously, we've got a book coming up, right? Which is going to help.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, in simple terms, I think if you wanted to be a small scale property developer, the buy, develop, rent, refinance type model that we look at, I still think doing those courses can help you to a certain extent, but then you just want to extend that self-education. Yeah. So look at the real specifics of the people that do that and do it well and learn from them.
And the market's changed, doesn't it? It used to be like we've changed the term from refurbish to develop, because refurbish sounds like it's just a kitchen and a bathroom. Yeah. And that doesn't work. And
exactly right. So like if you took that BRR traditional language, I think of it like you, it's like refurbished. That's
a terrace house.
That's a cosmetic refurb. Yeah. It's a kitchen, bathroom. That's it. Whereas pretty much all of the project we do are, a change. They're a change of use, really, aren't they? So at that point, it's the development. Whether you're converting a terrace house to a HMO, commercial building to a HMO, commercial building to flats, they are developments. They are change of use. And I look at it and go, right, if you're going 70K or higher with the build works, you're moving away from that general refurbishment, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And but at that point, you've kind of like chosen your strategy, haven't you? So what you can do is you can say, right, I'm doing the training, and now that training's helped me understand myself and where I am, the funds, the raising, and all that kind of stuff, which is really helpful. And it's also helped me decide on the strategy.
Yeah,
that's hard, right? It's hard.
Yeah.
That takes time. People don't realize. They think they're going to be doing deals in week 1. Actually, you go away and you're like, I don't even know what my strategy is. But that's a good thing, because it actually gets you thinking about what your strategy is going to be. And by the time you've done that, you say, right, well, then it's about learning about that strategy and becoming an expert in there. So if it's BDRR, as you talk about, buy, develop, refinance, and rent, then you basically, what you're going to do. And it's about experts in that space, hiring an expert or developing your own knowledge, learning
I think
yourself.
Generally, we see there is a bit of a gap in the market, in the property training market for this specific, guidance and training, isn't there? And that's why we're trying to, part of the reason we're doing this podcast, part of the reason we do the business that we do, we're trying to help, further educate that as well.
Yeah. And so then going back to property training, there's lots and lots of case studies. So we could talk about case studies where there's people on our course who have not done anything. They haven't done anything, and it's not because it's just maybe the property wasn't for them. Maybe they were too fearful, or maybe they signed up for it because for reasons that weren't genuine intrinsically. But then there's lots of case studies of great people who've done great things. And most of the people that we now have in our networks who are becoming, let's call it, financially free from property, have started there in some kind of a property.
Yeah, and there's
training environment.
I suppose, like you're saying, and I can't remember how many were in each year, but let's say it's 40 people or something. You're going to get a percentage of people that, like you said, they haven't done anything. They're not going to, for whatever reason. Maybe it's just not for them. There's a big chunk that will take a bit of action. Will get them going, and and like, even regardless, you do a bit of property from it. It's going to help your life, especially in the long term. And then there's another percentage that, like, it's completely life changing, that they've really either got to their financial freedom goal within that time, or within the next 2 or 3 years after they get to a really good financial freedom goal that can really just set them up for life and generations.
And there's loads of great examples, because there's somebody who was on our cohort who's now one of the pin hosts, Devon pin host, Chris. Yeah. He's just left his job, as an example, now financially free. Could have probably done it sooner, but he's just left it. Louise, who's been on our podcast, of course,
joint ventured.
He's
built a big portfolio.
Built a big really quickly as well, and
while working full time,
and also at the same time reduced her outgoings so she's now living within her means, and then was able to step away. from the day job, but also she's no longer she's used that as a mechanism.
Yeah.
And now she's doing something that she loves again and generating more revenue through that.
She's got some businesses that
she's got a little business.
You can listen to her podcast to hear her story. Really great. So she does some really good charity work, and she's got some businesses that she runs.
Yeah.
And like being in that environment and doing those property developments has helped her get to that position. So
yeah,
it's an amazing case study.
And she's a great case because she's used it as a leverage to just be able to go and do the things that she wants to do, rather than, continually moving like we are moving forwards with developments all the time. She's done something different, which is took the revenue to pay for her life and then done something that she wants to do.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing you can do, is once you realize who you are as part of that program, you don't have to then go, well, what's next in property, but it can just free up your time. And there's lots of examples of that. You got Pete and Joe who are traveling the world as an example.
Yeah.
They're just professional dog sitters as far as I know.
And also,
right? Yes, that's all
house sitters as well.
They house sit.
But also they built up a big portfolio in Australia, which is a different market, and they acknowledged it.
Yeah.
And they're actually British originally, and they said, we need to get more training in the UK because we want to build up a portfolio.
The podcast you can listen to.
That is a good podcast. So, they've got the freedoms, and they're literally traveling around the world, really successful careers and businesses previously. And now they've got the freedom to do like house sitting and dog sitting and travel around and all these sorts.
Which is great. Like so they've no worries really. They just say, right, I'm just going to, I'm coming back to the UK. Anybody want their house sitting for a couple of weeks, look after the dog.
Yeah.
It doesn't even like, you just put us up for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And it's a little thing that they do, which is like, it's just a great way to live. And it's about that. These case studies are real, but they genuinely wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
If they hadn't have taken the action.
I think Pete's one of the guys that says that. I think you could listen to the podcast, but he had a challenge that he had financially. Yeah. And his learning from that was that if no matter what you invest in, you need to understand and be educated in it, even if you're not doing the physical implementation of everything.
Yeah.
So it could be a thing with property development, even if you're not the one that's physically going to do everything, because you've got a project manager, you've got a good team. Like if you understand how it works, you can oversee it as the
because if you've got a coach who's
it's not as risky. Yeah.
In your property training network, and then you hire a project manager, they can oversee whether that person is the right person
exactly
with your job.
And you know how to pick the right teams and everything like that.
Yeah. So I think from our perspective, obviously going back to the start from the bias, the bias is that we've done it and we've done well out of it. And there's lots of case studies that have, but it's about, are you the kind of person who's at that point in your life where you're going to take the action?
Yeah.
And if you are, then you should, in my opinion, and you should go with the network based one, because if you are the kind of person who would like to be in the room with people that are trying to achieve the same goals as you, and you're driving each other forwards. I couldn't do an online.
Yeah, because there's the accountability as well, isn't it, with other people? So
I don't think I could. I personally don't think I could do just an online thing. I don't think I could. Not saying that other people can't, because even because obviously I was in Dubai recently, and a lot of the guys who did the virtual one in Dubai, but they were all meeting up.
Yeah.
So in a way, they were providing their own mastermind community while at the same time attending the technical and the coaching and that kind of stuff, but then getting together, which is a great idea, right? So, that's another.
And in Manchester, the people that we had now, because we ended up sort of working together anyways.
Yes,
some way,
like literally anybody, like literally.
We're all connected in some way.
We're all working on something together, which is because you've got the same mindset.
Whether it's lettings or joint ventures or whatever, we're all connected in some way, aren't we? So that just shows the power of that network.
Yeah. And that for me was the biggest value point takeaway. Not only was it the educational part, but it was the network of like-minded people that you can know, like, and trust and work with and develop with.
Yeah, and I suppose the training organizations, if they've got the similar sort of mindset or ethos or whatever that you're trying to do, because I know there's some that if you want a garage of Ferraris or whatever, and there's the training organizations where the people, that's what they're about, and maybe that's more for you, but that's not us. So we didn't look at those sort of training providers.
Yeah.
But
it's horses for courses, right? You've got to be the right thing for you.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah. As long as you know, or you really do a bit of background check and make sure it's the right thing for you.
You've got to be honest with yourself as well. What kind of person am I? Right? Yeah. Am I the person that needs to be in the room with people? Do I need somebody to put their arm on me and help drive me forwards?
Yeah.
Because if you are and you're doing an online course, chances are your online course is going to go over your head. You're not going to ask questions because you're a bit nervous.
I think the decision is a hard balance, isn't it? Because if you look into it too much and you never end up doing it, it's a bit like me during COVID. If I didn't just take the step and follow that sales pitch about the market's going to crash, I might not have done it.
I think the biggest mistake you can make is thinking, oh, I'm going to do the online one because it's cheaper. That's the biggest mistake you can make, because then it's just about the content and you've made a decision based on lacking the value of being in the room is big. The value of the network is big. So as long as you're happy with that, then, and you've made that decision, that it's just the content, then you are fine. But if you then think you're going to get all the other tangible benefits of the network and you're not in the room, you're not. Ultimately, you can't form those relationships without being there.
And like you said earlier, it's difficult to put an exact return on investment on it, because if you look at it from a cost perspective, you go, if I do it online, it's $8,000. If I do it face to face, it's 20. It's cheaper. But then you don't know the difference in the return you get from that live networking, which for me was probably all the return was on that basis. So
Lovely. All right then.
Excellent. Hope that helps everyone with their decision or makes it all confusing.
Yeah, so thanks. Yeah, I'm more confused now than at the start. But thanks for joining us once again on the Financial Freedom Podcast. Before you go, if you would like, subscribe or follow on whatever platform you are watching on or listening to us on, that helps us build the podcast numbers and will help us to continue making these podcasts. So thanks very much, and we'll catch you in the next one.
See you on the next one.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. If you want to get in touch with us about today's podcast or any of the learning topics that we've gone through today, you can email us at podcast@invest-prop.co.uk or get in touch with us with whichever your social media platform of choice is. If you think you would add value to us as a guest on this podcast, you can please get in touch and let us know what you would be able to talk to us about. Other than that, we wish you well on your financial freedom journeys. And once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.